Alright, so we've got another no bullshit here. Spouting some absolute bullshit. Obviously. So, I'm gonna take this video. It seems like he's got most of it pretty on track. There'll be a couple interruptions, but go ahead and watch this together.
Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about the Pokemon video game franchise. And storied history, and a special place in my heart as well. Pokemon is something I grew up on, playing the original Game Boy video games as a kid, and I even watched the original seasons of the cartoon back in the mid-90s. Also, I remember seeing the first Pokemon film, called Pokemon the First Movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, and I saw that when it came out back in 1998. Then there was also the Pokemon card game, which
I had the Mew card.
I remember collecting two or three foil Charizard cards myself, thinking they were more valuable than gold to me at the time. So yeah, needless to say, I've been a bit of a Pokemon nerd over the years. Admittedly though, I lost track of the original game series around 2013. I played just about every entry up until then, and since then, I've certainly kept track of Pokemon too. Pokemon Go, for example, was a mobile version of the game that came out in 2016, of which I also played many hours of that summer. The summer of 2016 was also when we made our first and last video about Pokemon here on No Bullshit. If you don't remember, Pokemon Go was a bit of a phenomenon when it first came out back then. Everyone and their mother was giving it a go, so to speak, and this popular scrutiny too. One really bogus story that we covered from the Young Turks about this really took the cake on Pokemon Go though. Back then...
Now, I haven't watched the video by the TYT, but if I had to guess what they're going to say is something along the lines of, in this police state where black people are shot and killed, that black people walking around with things in their hands puts them in a higher danger in presence of cops who see them walking around public places and assume they're up to no good. I assume that's probably along the lines of what they were saying, and that's pretty fair to say. But it's not a commentary rather on Pokemon Go, but a commentary on the police state and police violence against the black community. That's just my guess, but just wanted to address that.
Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks actually had the balls to say that Pokemon Go was putting black people in danger. Ridiculous, I know, and it's really just based on the Young Turks and their social justice warrior prejudice and reverse racism. I put a link to that original not to catch up, but for now, let's go ahead and move on to the latest controversies around Pokemon happening right now, because much like how the Young Turks chimed in on this before, so too are some others deciding it's time for them to pass judgment.
I love how he just calls other people by a derogatory term. SJWs, as though it's supposed to be a bad thing that we want to make society a better place, not keep doing the same ignorant things over and over again. We'll get to more on that in a minute.
On another upcoming Pokemon fad. Since Pokemon Go's wild success that started in the summer of 2016, well, Pokemon has really had a sort of renewal in popularity that's gone along with that. Pokemon Go not only brought back former fans of the series, it also brought in lots of new interest too. This was a spin-off of Pokemon Go called Pokemon Let's Go, which came out last year on the Nintendo Switch. It received middling to modest praise and proved to be fun for some, but many more were still waiting for an official new entry to the series. Inevitably be coming to the Nintendo Switch console. Enter the latest entry in the Pokemon series, to be called Pokemon Sword and Shield. And I have to say, I'm pretty excited for this one, and I'm not even too invested in Pokemon anymore recently. Many more others are though, and that's why this new release that's set to come out this November, well, there's a lot of eyes on this one to say the least. And that of course brings a lot of pressure onto the project as well. And if the first bit of drama about this is Pokemon Sword and Shield. You see, there was lots of new information coming out about this game last week at the E3 gaming conference, which we talked about in another way yesterday. And well, they had a whole section for Nintendo at that conference too, which led to lots of gameplay and announcements for the new Pokemon. Unfortunately, many fans were not too impressed with what they saw there, which led to the first controversy about this. This Destructoid article, for example, says they are excited for the game Shield was a bit of a letdown. This is mostly because the demo was a small, one-way, unexciting gym experience. Many would have preferred to explore the open world, a new area that's to be called the Wild Area, where players can roam freely, explore, and find new Pokemon creatures to train and collect. And I myself can also see the concern here. I build a Breath of the Wild type open world thing here. After Nintendo killed it with that open world game and another legendary one called Mario Odyssey, hopefully Pokemon can pull off something like that too, but for now, we just don't know if it will yet. Next, this E3 controversy grew for Pokemon. As their new feature for the game, a so-called Dynamax ability, well, all it really does is make your Pokemon, which is seemingly unimpressive so far. And finally, many fans were upset that this new and improved console premiere for the long-running Pokemon franchise, well, many had hoped Sword and Shield would feature the franchise's entire 800-plus character cast. When a Pokemon and Nintendo announced this wouldn't be happening, many were upset about it to say the least. And I think I understand wishful thinking too much if you ask me. Disney would make all 800 Pokemon into one game is a bit much. It'd be cool. Imagine the amount of CGI construction, animations, movesets, and balancing and so on. That's just too much for this project. The game would basically cost so much to make if they did all that, they could...
Now, this is my first real issue here. I otherwise have pretty much agreed with them most of the time so far, but I don't think that it's impossible. I don't think that it's too difficult. I don't think that it costs too much money. You have to understand that they've already balanced out movesets because the Pokemon already had those movesets. All they would have to do is transfer the content from one game to another game and change the back end. I'm a programmer, so if you built the database for the Pokemon and converted old Pokemon to new CGIs, that would be an easy enough task. Moreover, the key to what they should be doing really is that they should, like you said, have that open world environment and simply have each area as a particular ecological environment, and each Pokemon are more or less likely to appear based on their requirements for an ecological environment. So it's really not all that impossible. It's not that difficult. They could do it, but doing that would kind of put the pressure on them to maintain something like that. And more than likely what they're going to be doing is they're going to be putting that into an MMORPG version of Pokemon, because that's where that kind of environment thrives. Much like a World of Warcraft, where you have monster spawn areas and spawn rates, it would be something similar in Pokemon. It's really not that impossible. They can do it. They're probably planning on to do it as a solo RPG. They're gonna have to do it as an MMORPG. That's pretty much where that's at. But that takes time to develop, and they don't want to drop the word on that too soon. That's my bet. But let's continue.
Even make money on this product, so them sticking to their usual limited amount of Pokemon setup does still make sense. Would be cool if they could find a way to add in more later, but I won't hold that against them too much either. Next, let's talk about the new human character for the game, which can be seen in this is Nessa, and she's a new gym leader who wields water-type Pokemon. She's also the topic of the next controversy about this new game. This is
where it gets fun.
Really stupid one I hinted at earlier. Apparently, Nessa has been very well received by fans so far. So much so that she's also been getting her own fan art drawn and made about her by some of her more hardcore fans. Not too big of a surprise since anime weebs love their sexy.
And there he goes with insulting us to have a conversation. How mature.
Drawings and all, but also, it's worth mentioning that a lot of this attention is coming because Nessa is dark-skinned, of course. She's likely black or brown or something, and that's going to come up more again later. First though, let's look at an article from our least favorite pro-SJW gaming rag called Polygon. Their article's called All Hail Nessa, the new water-type gym leader for Pokemon Sword and Shield, with a subtitle saying, "We have decided to stand a queen." Jesus, settle down there, guy. So hard to
Jesus, settle down there, guy. You act like you've never read a fan article before.
them like they're princesses all the time. You're patronizing the minorities, dude, and girls don't like that either. Regardless, let's read on and see how cringy this shit gets. Look, I'm never so ready to end a 22-year-old relationship with a character that I... It's time to step aside. Nessa is the new all-time master of water Pokemon. If you say so, buddy. To me, though, in my opinion, Misty is a Pokemon legend. She's in the original game and the anime and everything. So me seeing some hot minority in a swimsuit in 2019 isn't just drop. And let's be real here, guys. The reason this Polygon writer wants Misty to step aside is because she's white, of course. That's exactly what this...
Okay, so here we go. Absolutely. She is a white character and she needs to step aside because this is a minority character, someone with darker skin. And the reason that we want Misty to step aside is because, or at least my opinion, but I want to see more diversity because diversity is representative of the world. Nowhere in the world is everyone all white. Nowhere in the world is everyone all brown. The whole world is not just one race, one skin tone color. The world is made up of many, many, many types. And what people want, this whitewashing that we're fighting against, is making everything white. Movies where all the characters are white, except for maybe one black person, the token black guy, right? Not another teen movie literally made fun of it. I'm just a token black guy. I'm supposed to say things like, damn! Because that's how offensive and ridiculous movies were. But now we've begun expanding so that movies and games reflect the real world. There are a mix of people, of different colors, different genders. That's what we should be doing. By creating an art, a world of all white people, it's whitewashing. It's trying to make it more comfortable for you because you are uncomfortable by having other skin tones around. So we want a game to reflect reality. We want movies to reflect reality. It's complicated. It's not offensive. To be proud that they're including minority characters is a good thing.
Coded dog whistle-like phrase means when it's coming from left wing.
It's not a dog whistle. We're being pretty clear about it. We're proud that minorities are being including or reflecting reality. That's it.
And in turn, the main reason this SJW is fawning over Ness so much is because she's brown, even though they won't ever admit this directly. They do. Her character design is fire, or water. She rocks perfectly applied eyeliner and purple eyeshadow. I'm obsessed with Pokey-inspired swimsuit fit for an athlete. Also, she has floaties on her sandals. Okay. Nessa also has fans excited because she is also among a growing list of Pokemon Sword and Shield character cast that are dark-skinned, along with Leon and Hop. This is important, given that many Pokemon characters are often white. Why is that important, though? Really? I hate it when these leftists just assume things like this, things that they like are good and important, without any explanation. Especially...
Well, if you would listen, it's good and important that we include more skin tones to represent the real world. It's really not that difficult. It's good because it's the morally right thing to do, to be inclusive, not exclusive. To include other skin tones is a good thing. Morally, objectively, it's just a good thing. It reflects reality. Whereas selecting only one group is excluding others and makes them feel like they're not important. That's just morally bad. It's pretty simple.
Especially when you're writing an article for a wannabe news site, they should at least try and say some bullshit and explain this, like saying something like, representation is important because, yada yada yada.
I agree, they could have, but their goal isn't to combat racism. That's their article. Their article isn't to be an informative article on racism and how inclusivity in video games is a good thing. Their article is about Sword and Shield. Get over it, dude.
But instead, it's just assumed, and I really don't even know why anymore. A slew of bullshit reasons, but when you get right down to it, people like this just think white because they hate white people, and they want less white.
It's not because they hate white people. They hate whitewashing of video games, making everybody in the video game white, to make white people feel comfortable and sell games to white people. That's wrong.
Characters and more browns, of course. I mean, that's not even really an exaggeration or assertion anymore. That's literally what these SJWs say they want now. And somehow, they don't see this as offensive or racist at all. Even though, if I said the opposite, they would certainly call me a racist or a fascist or Nazi. For example,
if you said you don't want brown people in video games and you only want white people in video games, then yeah, you'd be racist. But to say, I don't want just white people in my video games, I want browns and blacks and Hispanics and Asians, I want everybody and diversity in my video game, is not racist because it's including all races. How are you this dumb?
if I cheered on a character just for being in this game, well, this Polygon writer would certainly call me a...
Yeah, you'd be racist because there are already primarily white characters in video games. You'd be saying you want more whites and less browns because whites have more representation and you want more representation and you don't want them to be represented. That's racist. Saying we want more brown people in video games or black people or whatever, we want various tones in games or movies or whatever media you're talking about, isn't racist because you're wanting to include all races. You're not looking to exclude white people. We're not saying we want black-only video games. That would be racist because you'd be excluding other races. Including is not racist. Excluding is racist. It's really very simple, Mr. Bullshit.
Racist for that. But somehow, in his messed up mental gymnastics driven by a left-wing world, well, being anti-white is okay, according to these whack jobs. Hell,
it's not anti-white. Again, it is not anti-white to say we want to... It is anti-other colors to say you want only whites. Do you understand that yet? I'll keep reiterating it, and hopefully you'll get it.
Encouraged even. Next, the Polygon article goes on to gush over some fan art made of Nessa online, which, quite frankly, I find a little creepy sometimes. It's all for fun though, and some of the drawings are actually pretty impressive. And this is what leads to the final part of these Pokemon controversies too. You see, there was lots of fan art going and a few of the drawings actually sparked a controversy of their own. Specifically, one Japanese artist was attacked viciously, all for making Nessa the wrong shade of a color, according to some SJWs. For more details, let's turn to an article from Bounding Into Comics called Japanese Artist Najuko Harassed and Accused of Racism Due to Fan Art of Pokemon's Nessa. Check this. And accusations of racism due to a lighting choice on a drawing of the recently announced Pokemon character Nessa, which for skin color on June 13th.
Period. Right there. That's it. You've already agreed. They lightened the tone of her skin color. Period. Dot. End of sentence. That artist lightened the tone of her skin color, making her more white. Yep, I don't think that means he's a racist necessarily, but absolutely they can call him out on it and be like, dude, that's wrong. You should have kept her skin tone nice and dark, the way that she's meant to be represented. By not representing her the way she is and making her skin tone lighter, it does make it look like you're whitewashing her.
Artist Najuku shared an image they had drawn of the Pokemon Sword and Shield Water-type gym leader to their personal Twitter page. For the drawing, Najuku chose a softer, muted palette choice for Nessa, resulting in a stylistic and colorful piece, which deviated slightly from the colors displayed in her official artworks. Well, this all looks fine to me. Just a lighter shade on the already light brown skin.
That is a far lighter shade of color on her skin. So that art would if he had kept her skin tone darker. He could have done it. Not an issue. The issue is that he made her whiter. And people have an issue with that, and they are allowed to. That's who it's for. Art is for public consumption, and the public doesn't like it. They don't like that he did that. That's their opinion. They're okay to like it, and they're okay to tell him he was wrong for making her so much whiter. Because that's their criticism. Get over it, dude.
Nessa, apparently SJWs don't understand in art, because if they're going to call this racist, well, that's just crazy. The image quickly gained traction among Najuku's almost 60,000 Twitter followers, and once the piece was fully circulating across social media, Najuku's post was quickly descended upon by users accusing Najuku of whitewashing and racism. Then there's a couple of tweets saying things like, "Nessa is a brown girl, please make sure your art reflects that."
Wow, that seems like a very reasonable comment. She is brown, please make sure your art reflects that. That's not inappropriate, that's not offensive, that's not threatening, that's not rude. That is a very fine comment, a criticism.
If you got her skin tone correct, whitewashing is ugly.
There you go, another fine comment. This would be cute if you got her skin tone correct. That's their opinion. If you had done it better and made their skin tone correct, she would have looked even better. Whitewashing is ugly. That's their other comment. They don't like whitewashing, and whitewashing is taking brown people and making them white. That's what he did in his artwork. Whether to or not, whether it was just because he was trying to make it lighter and muted colors, that's fine, but you can also make brown a muted color since it's already a kind of muted color. So there's no reason he had to make her skin tone that light, other than choice. He could have painted it with darker skin tone. That's why it's whitewashing. That's why people are complaining about it.
Wow, just wow. Now we're talking about whitewashing of a fan art picture drawn based on a character from a Nintendo video game. We have clearly reached peak wokeness here, guys.
Peak wokeness. Peak wokeness. Peak wokeness, guys. We've definitely reached peak wokeness.
Yeah. Feelings and sensitivities is a good frickin' thing there, guy. Mr. Bullshit. Being woke means you care about other people. You care about how it feels to them. To see things like, oh wow, look at this video game character, she's brown like me, oh that's really nice. Hey, wait a minute, this guy made art of her and she's really white now. That's not very nice. He couldn't even let me have that character. He had to take away her brown skin to make her whiter. That hurts. I can imagine somebody saying that. I really can. And being woke means you care that that's how somebody else feels. It's really not that difficult there, guy. But let's continue, Mr. Bullshit.
Here, in a nutshell, make no mistake, anti-white racism being slung at people. Damn joke. In the end, clearly this artist isn't racist, and they've done nothing offensive or wrong.
How can you say he's clearly not a racist? What evidence do you have to support that he's clearly not a racist? Did he come out and say he's clearly not a racist? Did he... What? You haven't presented any evidence. We have evidence to say that he could be a racist because you displayed that evidence. That character is brown skin tone, and he made it very white skin toned. That's a fact. He says he did it because of he wanted a muted color tone. But that's kind of not really a good reason because you can do that with a dark skin tone too. So, yeah, there's more evidence to support that he could be a racist than evidence to support that he isn't a racist. You're just making an assumption and trying to base it around your narrative and trying to fill in and force people to believe some answer because you said it's true. Propagandist.
Really, the SJWs have just shown their true colors here. They want things to be darker, and of course...
Yeah, their true colors are wanting to represent all colors.
Less white, because they hate white people and want less of us around.
They don't hate white people and they don't want less white people around. They want equal representation. Look at the statistics of the population of each of the demographics each of the target areas where Pokemon is sold. Okay, here in America, it's maybe 50% white, so 50% of the characters in that game should be white. It's what, 40% dark skin, black and Indian and stuff? Okay, so throw in 40% of the characters in the game as dark skin tones. 10% Asian. Okay. You see the issue here? It's not representative of any of the demographics. That's what people want. People want equal representation. They want the games to reflect reality, not be all white characters, because that's whitewashing. America isn't white. How about Japan? Well, in Japan there should be a lot more Asian characters in the games, right? Well, that's just silly to go ahead and make one game for America and one game for Asia and one game for Europe. That's really stupid. So instead, what should be done is look at the global population and percentages of each ethnicity and represent them equally. Put them all in the game. If there's 50% white people on the planet, half the characters in the game should be white. People want games. That's it, dude.
At least in public places and in popular things, like video games, movies, TV shows, etc. This is also another glowing example of the leftists trying to invade and take over popular spaces. Most of these whiners probably never liked or played Pokemon a day in their life before this, but when they saw other people really liked
We got one of those new purple mattresses, and
Hey,
it is
purple.
amazing.
I have one of them.
You have to try it.
By the way, totally recommend one, guys.
talked about Pokemon move to take over and make everything all politically correct and stupid once again. What do you guys think? Are these...
How would making games more inclusive be just politically correct and stupid? By representing and reflecting real-world statistics of populations of skin colors, how is that stupid? Please, answer me that, Mr. Bullshit. Answer me that. How in terms of skin color representation stupid?
Pokemon controversies really legitimate? Are you a fan of the series, and will you be playing the new game in November? And what do you think about the supposed whitewashing of the Nessa character? Comment your thoughts and everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. Hit video, and we'll see you all next time.
So there you go, Mr. Bullshit.